Welcome back to The Serial Entrepreneur. I'm your host, Anna Wood. On today's episode, I chat with Iman Dakhil, the founder of HintHint, a universal wishlist management tool to simplify the gift-giving process. We discuss being a solo, non-technical founder in a tech-based business, bootstrapping the business from the start, and the perfect gift. Let's dig in. Hello, welcome to the podcast. It's nice to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. So we begin every podcast episode with our signature icebreaker question, which is, what's your favorite breakfast cereal and why?
I don't actually have breakfast, I must admit. So I guess it's a latte. I mean, as a child, it was Fruit Loops or honeycombs, but it's been a long time since I've had the pleasure of that kind of breakfast.
Yeah, I feel a lot of people don't eat breakfast anymore. It's becoming more and more common. So would you be able to introduce yourself and tell me about your background?
For sure. So my name is Iman Dakhil, and I am the founder of HintHint. My background was in fashion and e-commerce, but I actually had a really thriving private jewelry business before I started HintHint. And that's partly what led me to this journey of this startup. So as a jeweler, I'd spent so much time curating amazing gifts for other people, and often like the most incredible engagement ring, but then I would take it a step further, the presentation, how was it going to happen, where was the element of surprise? And I realized that there's just so much emotion built into the gift and the gift giving, and there's a real gap in the market for how to really marry emotion to practicality and then to make it a meaningful experience.
What exactly is HintHint and what is your mission?
So HintHint is a universal wish list and gifting tool. It basically allows you to save anything you see online anywhere you want in one place. So we're traditionally primed to gift registries that are baby registries or wedding registries. So this is basically like your registry for life. And it's a way for friends and family to see your taste and to know what might be the perfect gift for you when it's a birthday or a holiday. But it's also kind of morphed into a shopping tool. So I'm the chief purchase officer, for example, in my house. I have 3 kids. I am constantly the one buying, shopping, figuring out what needs to be bought. And as a result, used to have 150 tabs open on my computer. So this allows me the opportunity to see something, save it quickly in one destination, and then come back and revisit when I have the attention and bandwidth and not have to face those 500 tabs open on the desktop that terrify me.
So you said that you're doing other things such as being a jeweler before founding HintHint. How do you think those previous experience shaped your approach to HintHint?
I mean, to be perfectly honest, I built HintHint for myself. My husband was a horrible gift giver. He won't mind my saying that. And I found myself constantly creating the perfect gift for other people all the time. And then would be my birthday or a holiday, a meaningful holiday or milestone. And it would be like, I didn't know what to get you. I would be like, well, really? So I, naively used to tear sheets out of magazines and leave them bedside thinking I was dropping a subtle hint here or there. He had no idea what I was talking about. And he said to me, gift giving isn't easy for me. He said, it's easy for some people, but it's not easy for me. And he said, just, go buy what you want. If you want, I'm happy for you to get what you'd like. But I'm like, but that's not actually a gift, is it? That's me buying what I'd like. And I'm not looking for permission to go buy something. I want to feel you thought of it. You thought a little bit about me and what I like and what I won't like, and, gave me that process. And he just couldn't really understand where the gap was, why I was just, in his mind, gift giving was like the end product. It wasn't the process. And for me, it's all about the process. So you just have to make it easy. And if you make it easy, I'd be so happy to give you anything you want. So I essentially built HintHint so that my husband would be able to see everything I ever want. As a result, though, we've basically bootstrapped this company, self-funded it, and there have been no gifts. That's the flip side of it. The gift of it has been giving myself HintHint.
Yeah. But I think some of the best businesses do come from that need that you have yourself. Like you realised this is an issue that we're having. Other people must also have this problem too.
I mean, I do spend so much time thinking about what somebody might want as a gift because in the past, when we give gifts, if we're short on time, and I'm definitely that person, you end up kind of going for the thing that is either a classical no-brainer gift, or you give a gift card, which I don't really like to give, or you give something that might just have been expensive because that connotes like you're meaningful to me, so I spent money, but it might not actually be the thing that that person wants, and then they've now received something that's expensive that they didn't really like. And yes, if they got a gift receipt, great, but then you've given them an errand and they have to go to a store and kind of do the walk of shame to return the gift and take a gift voucher that they might lose. And it, there's so much waste actually in the gifting space. And I really wanted to address that when we started HintHint. So that was one of the key focuses for me, is like, let's remove some of this friction and let's normalize saying that this is what I like. It's not saying you have to buy this for me, but at least if 6 of my girlfriends have lists and it's their birthday, I have an idea of their taste. And I have a general idea of what they might want. And even better, if I can get them exactly what they want, it might be out of my budget, but it will give me like a marker to, okay, actually she's into beach bags. She needs a beach bag. Or she's looking for a summer sandal. This will be a cute one. Some people go directly, A plus B equals C, and that's the formula we found for teens. The teenage market loves HintHint, and teenagers love to tell you what they want. And no parent or adult seems to know what a teenager wants unless the teenager tells you directly, this is what I wanted. Because if you try to guess what a teenager wants, they'll be like, wasn't exactly the right one. Wasn't the color I wanted. No, that was last year. So I find that that's been an amazing kind of surprise audience for us, was the teen market.
Mm-hmm. Great. So how do you differentiate HintHint from other traditional wish lists and competitors in the market?
So there's a few different ways that we can differentiate. I think to begin with, traditional wish lists have usually been for babies, baby registries, or wedding registries. And, not everyone's having a baby and not everyone's getting married. And that shouldn't also eliminate opportunities for them to be gifted nicely at different times in their lives. I think one of the main elements that differentiates us is that we're universal. So if you look at your wish list for a specific retailer, it's just limited to that retailer. You're the only one that can see it. It's not public to your friends. With HintHint, you get to choose. Do you want to make it public or private? Do you want to share it with a select few? So I could save on my HintHint list, 10 items from Net-a-Porter, 4 things from My Teresa, 3 things from Amazon, and it's all in one destination. And I'd say above all, it's, with us, there's a certain taste level that really drives the process. I mean, we've designed a really beautiful product, I think, and that is like a deeply personal thing for me. I need it to be beautiful. I want to be able to stay on the site and enjoy the site and keep looking. And I like to look at my friends' lists and I like to look at other people's lists and get inspired. And I think that it's designed in a way that makes you want to stay on.
Great. So when you first started HintHint, how did you start acquiring users kind of in the space, and what worked best for you?
I initially tapped into my own communities of friends and clients, and that interestingly was not the best way. The best way for us was actually really organic, just kind of word of mouth, spread, getting the one teenager at one school would use it, and then that kind of set a tone for other teenagers to use it. And I really think community build is a great way to build. So, looking at different communities and trying to get it moving along in those communities. But there wasn't like a specific, initially you would think, oh, okay, I'm just going to go to my 100 best friends and ask them all to sign up. And they all, of course, do sign up, but they're not necessarily your user or your best case user. It's, that you have traction when you're five people removed from the user and you don't know the users at all. And you see that they're repeat users. I mean, that's the best validation for a product.
So, as a founder, there's a lot of challenges kind of on the road. What would you say have been the challenges that you faced on the journey, and how have you overcome them?
And there are so many challenges. Every day is a challenge. Like, there are so many challenges. I mean, the biggest challenge for me was not being part of a tech ecosystem. I'm a sole founder. I didn't have a tech background. I really had the taste and the fashion and the e-commerce background, but I didn't have a tech background per se. So I had to really learn how to build a product and learn the language and figure out how to hire a team. And all of that was learning on the go. And that was really tough and really burnt me many times over. I mean, if I could do it all over again, the first thing I would have done was find a technical co-founder.
Cool. So, on the flip side of that, what would you say have been the highlights so far?
Seeing that it's actually being used. Like, that's really an amazing thing when you see people you have no idea who they are regularly using the product. That is, kind of like, oh, okay, actually, this works. And then, the occasional validation from a 13 or a 14-year-old who's like, oh my God, you built that? I love HintHint. Like, nothing feels better than hearing that.
Yeah, I can imagine. I think when all your hard work goes and people are actually using it and they're really happy with what you're making at the end, I think being able to see that must feel great.
It's great, and it also feels terrible when something's not working and they send you that feedback too. That is also really hard, and sometimes things don't work. It's just the nature of tech, like I get so excited if Dropbox has a bug. I'm like, yes, Dropbox also has problems at times. I'm sorry, Dropbox, I'm sure you don't, but I've definitely had an experience here or there. If I get really excited if, a page isn't working, I'm like, oh, this is amazing validation for me that everybody has, like, this is not just we're terrible and we can't do it. This is the nature of what we do. Things will break and you have to fix them.
Yeah, definitely. So, what have been the lessons that you've learned on the startup journey?
It is not a romantic experience to be a startup founder. It is a lonely, hard schlep. You have to be able to take a lot of no's, a lot of negative feedback, a lot of cynicism. And I think if you can kind of weather that or accept that, then you're at a starting point. And that's just the starting point, right? So you have to learn a certain sort of resilience. And every morning you kind of talk to yourself. I'm in a position where I haven't raised money yet, so I can still talk myself into, is this the right thing to do? Should I be doing this? Is there a reason to keep doing this? And every day I find a reason to keep doing it. So that's, you have to kind of give yourself a real reality check, I think, every morning. And you need to be super honest with yourself. And unfortunately, there is kind of an energy and an idea that like, oh, you're a startup founder and, how cool and how fun. And everybody who's a startup founder just makes it and it's going to work. And it's like, actually, very few make it. There's no guarantee to that. So then why are you doing it? And what is it fulfilling for you? And I think you need to have that really honest conversation with yourself all the time. And how can you make it? What is making it? Is making it an exit of this company? Is it making it profitable? Is it, just making it viral? What's the, and so those goals change pretty regularly too, I think. It's really dynamic and you need to be very nimble. That's the crucial thing that I've learned. And also, whatever technology you're building, it's dated by the time you've built it. So you need to be ahead of the curve constantly. And for the HintHint experience in particular, I think like we're not just about the build, we're about an experience. It's a brand. We want you to, to really understand and immerse yourself in our taste. We create these beautiful gift guides every season that really kind of set a tone for what we think make wonderful gifts if you're looking for inspiration and ideas. And that's the part I really enjoy. I mean, that part is kind of a labor of love. But it's a very dynamic experience. There's never a typical day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you say about how kind of any tech you build is outdated by the time you launch it. I think a big thing on everyone's lips is AI. Is that something that you're integrating?
We are evolving into a full AI-powered shopping and gifting experience. So I hope within the next 8 months, you will be able to find like HintHint is actually your best shopping friend and is your shopping companion. And it'll still be grounded in like the wish listing element, but it will be so much more tailored to your personal taste, to smart discovery, to pricing that suits you. There's this idea that like when you're gifting, everything has to be expensive, and it doesn't. To be a great gift, it just needs to be thoughtful or something that that person wants. That's it. It doesn't, it could be, I mean, one of my most favorite gifts ever to receive is a specific pair of socks that are not expensive, but when I put them on, I'm so happy. And the friend who gave them to me knows because I text her a picture of them every time I have them on, and that's funnily one of my most favorite gifts ever received. And probably retails for 20 quid, not expensive, not inexpensive, but just really thoughtful and so well suited to me. I'm always cold, so.
Yeah. It's great. So also you mentioned about how you haven't raised money and you're bootstrapped. Is that something that you're going to continue going forward? Was that a decision that you made early on that you didn't want to raise money?
It was a decision that I made early on because I felt that, look, it's a double-edged sword. When you're bootstrapped and you don't raise money, you might be more conservative about decisions and you're probably more frugal than you should be. But it also kind of put me in a position where I learned how to be very creative with resources and how to leverage one thing to make it into five. And I believe that the best companies are run really efficiently. And that taught me that discipline. So I did not want to raise money until I had that discipline down because I don't want to be cavalier with anybody else's money. And I really wanted to only raise money when I felt sure that there was proof of concept, that there is a reason for this product to exist. There are so many apps out there, so many products out there, so much in the shopping space. So why this one? And I needed to prove that. I probably am the most cynical and hardest judge out there. So I needed to prove it to myself before I took anyone else's money. But I think we're now at that point where I feel quite comfortable that I'm willing to work that hard for someone else as well.
Yeah, I think it's quite interesting speaking with founders who early on make a decision that they're going to bootstrap and that they're not going to raise any kind of funding for a while, because I think you see online, you see on LinkedIn that funding rounds are constantly being announced. People are constantly talking about VC funding. So it's really interesting to see people who straight away said, I don't want to start with that.
I think there's so much noise around fundraising, and there's so much self-congratulations around it, and it's important. And if you raise money, it's really hard to raise money. So if you do, you should congratulate yourself, and you should. But it's easy as a founder to get distracted by that, and if you're not ready for it. So I just wasn't ready. I wasn't ready for that element. I needed to really learn what I was doing, build. I needed to invest in myself. And I didn't feel comfortable taking that risk yet from somebody else. I just didn't feel like that was a responsible thing to do. But I fully appreciate and understand that most people who are doing this actually know what they're doing in the beginning and are ready to do that, and that's wonderful and amazing for them. But I'm probably more conservative, and maybe that is a red flag to some people because they want a very risk-ready founder. But I have to operate with my own sense of integrity and my own sense of values, and I just wasn't ready to do that until I really knew my stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you've got to run your business the way you feel comfortable running it, because when something goes wrong and you've been taking loads of advice, that's kind of when things can go wrong. So you're like, I wouldn't have even got myself in this without having other people's opinions in it.
Yeah, I really think when you use your own money, and to use my own money really meant whatever money we made, and it's very little, I would figure out how to put back in the company, right? Or if I could, I learned how to build things by myself, how to do certain graphics by myself, how to do social media by myself. All of that became, it's a one-man, it's like startup party of one for a really long time because we just couldn't afford staff, or we'd get some freelance support. And we have some great support in the freelance world that gets us and gets me. And I'd love to bring them into a longer role. But, it really is a certain kind of ability to be able to do that, where you can figure out how to make a dollar spread to five. But I don't advise that. It's really hard. And it's probably turned most of my hair gray. Um, so if you are ready to go and know what you're doing, by all means, raise. But I just didn't have that talent. To be honest, I didn't have the skill set. I do now, but I didn't when I started. And I didn't think that was fair to anybody. And mostly not fair to myself, because then I would have lived with that responsibility every morning and concern, and then it would have distracted me from learning what I needed to learn.
Yeah, definitely. So kind of going back to a previous question, we spoke about the lessons that you've learned, but looking back on the beginning of your journey, what's one thing you wish you would have known, or a lesson or a piece of advice before you even founded the company?
That I needed a technical co-founder. That would have been a game changer. You don't have any, if you are not a computer science or a software engineer or don't have any background in building products, you are really locked out of a language. And it's really hard to navigate. And, I would think I was communicating to the development team that I want to build this road that's going to take me to Narnia, and I would end up with a road that took me to Oz, and so where did it go wrong? What happened? All of that was really kind of overwhelming in the beginning, but I think had I had a technical co-founder, it would have just been all the easier for someone else to run that piece of it. And then I could have really focused on the creative and on the storytell and on the user journey.
Yeah. Good. So what do you think is next for HintHint, and what goals do you have for the upcoming year?
We're really excited about the shift into AI. It's not just like it's a grocery store name. Everyone's using it. Everyone's saying AI, AI, AI. AI is here. And if we didn't make that shift to AI, we would be irrelevant very soon. So I'd like to think that, we're really moving ahead of the curve actually on the AI piece. We're using our imagination. We're really addressing, what do people need or want from AI? How does AI in the shopping case make life easier for you without it being 100 different ads being pushed at you and products being pushed at you, without it being this kind of, overtake of consumer culture at the palm of your hand. That's not what we're looking for either. But really, most people are pretty time poor. And if this can alleviate that sense of like, I need to find a dress, I need to find the right school shoe for my kid whose foot has a high arch. If we can give that to our user, that makes me really happy.
Yeah, definitely. I think how you say so many people are time poor, it's AI, when used the right way, it means that everything can be done slightly faster. Everyone's lives can be slightly better, which I think is what everyone wants. Everyone wants a bit more of their time back.
I think, yeah. We're stretched in 900 million ways, and we have to make so many decisions constantly. So this really gives you that sense of, okay, I just heard that my daughter has a very high arch in her foot. So let me just check on HintHint, like what's the best shoe? What are the best 5 shoes that I should look at? And boom, there they are. And that makes me just relieved to know that I've gotten a good answer that's a real answer that is backed up by reality. It's not just, pulling random things and somebody saying it. We've established some authority in this space. We've established some authority on taste and on knowing and on product discovery and knowledge. And I think it's really good to leverage that. But our AI is also built on our taste and I use the royal, expression of the royal we. It's really my taste. And I am like the ultimate consumer. I've spent so much time online building these lists, clothing my children, gifting my friends that, I really think I know. And so if I can help inform that AI, that's fantastic. But even better, if the user can inform their own AI tool, so my user might not like my taste, and that's totally fine. but the AI will understand their taste and cater to their needs. Super bespoke.
It then means that, yeah, it then means that more people would want to use it, especially if it's kind of curated on their own taste rather than.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people might hate my taste, and that's totally fine. By no means will it be like, oh, this is the only, it'll be based on the user's needs, most importantly. So really bespoke.
Yeah, great. So my final question for the podcast is there anything else that you wanted to add or discuss or plug?
We have a fun app. I'd love it if people would download it. It's on the iTunes and Apple Store. It's just called HintHint. And I think that we've just arrived at a place where it's completely normal to say what you like. And you should get what you want. You should buy what you want. You should buy for people what they want. There's no shame in it. People feel a little embarrassed. That was an initial pain point for HintHint, was like people going, I'm not sure if I should tell people what I want for my birthday. But actually, as it turns out, people would like to know. They'd like to know and like to get you what you want. And there's nothing wrong with that. But more than that, if you're shy to use it in that tool, use it for yourself, just for your own shopping edits. You need a black shoe. 900,000 black shoes out there. Start saving them to one destination and do your edit. It's so much easier.
Yeah. I do find it quite funny how you say there was kind of embarrassment for people to start using it and asking, because since I was probably like early teens, my family have always made lists for birthdays and Christmas, because everyone's like, what do you want? Like, I don't want to get you something that you just kind of think, oh, that's nice, but aren't actually going to use. Because even I tell everyone, like, what do you want? I don't just want to guess and get you something that you're not going to like. I want to know.
I mean, my goal is to eliminate everybody's gift cupboard at home with the recycled gifts. Everyone has one. Let's get rid of it. Let's make this sustainable. Let's be direct. Let's buy quality over quantity. Let's make things a perfect fit.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you so much, Iman. It's been great speaking to you and learning more about HintHint.
Really lovely to speak to you. Thank you so much. Thanks for your time.
If you liked this episode, be sure to subscribe to the podcast and check out Startup Magazine's socials to stay up to date on the latest startups news.